Hello, faith leaders, and welcome to Breaktime. Today, Psalm 8, 3, and 4 says this: When I consider your heavens and the works of your fingers, the moon and the stars which you have set in place. What is mankind that you are mindful of them? Human beings, that you care for them. This scripture says, when I look out at the vast sky, and you know, David was a shepherd, so he spent a lot of time under the sky. He spent a lot of time gazing at the stars. I think this is why one of the reasons why he's explosive in worship, because man, there's no greater place of worship when you sit under the sky that God has created. When you look up at the heavens, when you begin to imagine the heavens, we can't see them, but we can imagine them because by faith they exist. And so in that place of your greater imagination, imagine the heavens. Now imagine the stars being placed in front of the heavens and the moon being this, the vastness of what we see when we allow ourselves to really see. When we don't walk past what God is created and what he's wanting us to observe. Because David considered these things. So consideration takes time. And so the challenge is, are we taking the time? Are we considering the works of the fingers of what God has created? Are we allowing space in our life? I don't care how busy your schedule is. If there's not space in your life to imagine the fingers of God's creation in your life, then I can't imagine what life would be like without consideration of the fingers of God's work in your life. He is constantly creating. But our imaginations have stopped in some aspects of imagining the work of what God has created. Because I'm not sure that we even take time to look at the vastness of stars even. The greater universe. This is just one galaxy, but there's many other galaxies. But looking at this one, just staring up at the stars, I challenge you this evening or some night when there's stars outside, go outside, take your family, stare up at the sky, lie down and stare up at the sky, look at the stars, and see if your perspective does not change. See if your situation gets you get a greater handle on your situation simply because now you've allowed the creator of the universe's perspective to come into your life. Because there's it's hard to explain when you sit and take the time to consider the handiwork of God. Each star was placed there on purpose. So how could God then possibly keep us in mind? Because the vastness of the universe that God has created. How could he possibly? Isn't that humbling? Isn't it humbling? It's humbling to my heart when I think of you created all of this and yet your mind is on me. How could that possibly be? We can only imagine that. And don't let your imagination go dim. Get under the stars. Get under the sky. Look up like David did. And become one of those people that allow yourself to consider, even if it's for a few moments, the vastness, the greatness, the majesty of our God. Create the space, believer. Don't miss what God has created and what he's creating in you. Create the space.